Okay. Um, this is going to be a little bit weird. Here it's 10 p.m. in France, where I am, and basically I know myself to be what the philosopher Hegel calls reason. Namely, I have the certainty that I am the whole of reality. I knew this 4 years ago, in August 2018, and I've tended to forget. I don't know if it's self-consciously inflicted or not, but it brings all sorts of problems. Most notably, I know myself to be the root of all evil, so all the nasty, evil things which happen in the world, they are of my responsibility, which is the good aspect about me, is that whoever you are outside of myself, if anything goes wrong or has gone wrong in your life, you can put the blame on me. That's the fun of me, or no. So, yeah, but I'm not just negative, thank God, because we are one substance, and I don't know how to convince others of this truth yet, so I will improvise. Basically what I want to say is that I'm gonna make until, for the next, probably the next 10 or maybe 12 hours with a little bit of rest, I will make shorter videos, or I will use my knowledge to try to bring light. Yeah, so here's what I could say to anyone watching this outside of myself, but I will try. I will not watch my own videos because I can't, but I will try to keep calm. Relax, take it easy. It's the first test. I will make videos which are about 15 to 20 minutes long so that people can watch them. They will find this intriguing. I invite them to watch my longer videos. That's watch my videos, but also work hard, keep working hard, and I came prepared. You can quit your bullshit job or your bullshit education, whoever you are. Yeah, your bullshit job. I promote these books. I let people judge whether or not they are convincing. I will do this in all of my videos. I just share the links. You can look on the internet. You may not have the opportunity to read these books, but you can look what people think about these books. The Utopia of Rules. So I promote left-wing libertarianism, right-wing libertarianism, and also there's maybe a plan to replace the welfare state. I share these books. I let people do whatever they want with the knowledge that I share. So yeah, my piece of advice, whoever or whatever I am, keep calm, listen. You can listen to these pieces of music if it makes you feel better. Watch my videos if you find them interesting, and eventually you will. And work hard, whoever you are, except if you really have a bullshit job, you can quit your job and do something productive. Watch my videos, my long videos, because I want to promote the videos about the Central Intelligence Agency, European mythology, etc. But I will make shorter videos just to introduce. So yeah, watch my videos. You can listen to this song and work hard. These are other songs you can listen to. And here's a video on YouTube by Zizek. Hegel is an alien. So yeah. Now, it was an introduction. It lasted about 4 minutes. Now I will talk about the categories. Who am I? If you stumble upon this video, I will put the information about me in the description below. I am what the philosopher Hegel called the negative, but also reason. What the various mythology called, I'll let you give me a name that you seem fit. So I want to talk about logic because I know myself to be the cause, or not the cause, but the root of all reality in a way. So I am the cause of all problems, and as of now I have no other solution to try to solve the problems than to try to bring clarity in the mind of others, to help them think properly, enlighten them. That's my only weapon, intellectual weapon, as of now. So I imagine that because I will make shorter videos, that people will stumble upon this video for the first time. They don't know what I'm talking about. So I just show this. These are the kind of determinations that I will use. What is being? Being is divided in 3 moments: quality, quantity, measure. The quality of something is that which says what something is. To qualify, this means to give a Bestimmtheit. I will keep using my German language as long as I can. A determinacy, a Bestimmtheit, namely it means to set a limit, to say what is it, what it is. And a quality is what it is through its determinacy, whereas a quantity is a being whose determinacy can be changed indifferently. It can be increased or decreased, and the thing which increases or decreases doesn't cease to be what it is. And the measure is the unity of both, namely it's a qualitative quantity. And here's just a brief introduction. I will illustrate with food that mostly American, but actually decadent Westerner enjoy. I mean, not just decadent Westerner, but yeah. We'll talk about decadence a little bit later. Yeah, so then when I use spirit, actually I might use the term Geist in German. There are 3 modes of spirit: subjective, objective, absolute. To simplify in 20 seconds, subjectiver Geist. If I use the expression subjectiver Geist, I mean broadly anthropology and psychology, which includes the biological determination of man, not as an animal, namely anthropology, race realism, sex differences, the soul of man as a natural determinacy, precisely. And psychology, it is the psyche, the features of the mind, either intellectual or mental, the tendencies, etc. It includes psychiatry. Maybe we'll talk about psychiatry later. Objective spirit, objective Geist, is the exteriorization of the soul and the psyche of man in the realm of institutions. This is what, simply put, really law, namely right, how to behave collectively by obeying a certain set of rules within a society. Morality, how to behave on a personal level, the notion of right and wrong, good and evil. Here it would be just and unjust on a collective level. Here it's on a personal level. And Sittlichkeit, it's a German word. It includes broadly economics, sociology, politics, but also geopolitics and all the various branches of economics and sociology. And absoluter Geist, absolute spirit, is the expression of the soul of a people and the institutions, the collective institutions of a people, which expresses itself in art, namely the bringing forth of the beautiful in order to be contemplated. It can be music, painting, sculpture, religion, which is a collective way of organizing life, but also a relation to the sacred or the holy or the divine. And philosophy, which is the conceptual, which has the same content as religion. It is the conceptual grasping of not only the process of spirit, but also of nature, which is the realm of the physical world. Okay, this is really a brief introduction to make things clear to people whose IQ hasn't been dumbed down too much by the dysgenic process at work in most societies in the West and everywhere else. I will insert sometimes a little bit of dubious jokes, yeah. And then another important distinction: universal, particular, singular. Hopefully we can see clearly. The universal is, in ordinary language, what is general, what applies to all or to a lot, in a say, but actually it's to all. And the particular are the various determinacies, Bestimmtheiten of the universal, namely the universal, the genus in biology, or the class in any classification, the taxonomy, the general ID, particularizes itself in various determinacy, in various particularization, in various species. That's general, special in ordinary language, and so does the particulars. It singularizes itself, and since I intend to talk about, let us talk about food. These sweets, they are sweets of a particular brand, and this is a singular pack. There are other particular types of sweets, like bubble gum and whatever, and for each particular type there are various brands, various types, etc., and each pack is a singularization. That's an illustration. I will use this for all of my videos just to illustrate. So I want to talk about the categories, and I've understood after many months that in order to reach a broad audience, one has to really go to the basics, and I will talk about let us talk about America, because America is a singular country with particularities. Northern American country, that's a determinacy of geography. It's a Western country. It's a predominantly white country. It's historically a libertarian country. There are many particularities that, because there are particularities, they are shared in common with all other singulars which share the same particularities. The United States of America are an English-speaking country. A priori they should be, depending on the demographic trends, but they are a majoritarily English-speaking country, so they belong to the particularity of English-speaking countries, and the universal would be a language, and in the particular there is Canada, Scotland, Ireland, Australia, England, etc., etc., South Africa, and African countries whose predominant, most widespread language is English. So that's an illustration. So, because the singular, any singular contains within itself the determinations of the particular and the universal, it means that by studying one singular individual or subject or concrete object, when I say, one can elevate oneself up to the particulars and therefore deduce the particularities of all the others, and even to the universal, and deduce the other particularities. In religious language, God is the universal who made himself man through particular determination. Jesus, the human condition, and God, that's the story of Christianity. That's an example. So now let us talk about predominantly American food to illustrate the importance of the categories. It's been 12 minutes. Now I will illustrate some other categories as well, just to make things intelligible, and I will talk for a few minutes. I will not over-complexify, because I have discovered over the course of the past few months that when one talks too abstractly, people do not understand anything. So I will go to the basic. Let us talk about agriculture. In a historical, it's really simplified. I trust the intelligence of people. Maybe I shouldn't. That's a joke. That's a continuum with discrete moments. Let us imagine a historical process. In a history, in the official storyline, up until the development of industrial agriculture with heavily mechanized agriculture, fertilizers, new methods of harvesting crops, etc. In any country, but mostly in the developed countries, people had a sustainable way of life, but they did not have an excess of food. But here I talk about briefly the historical process. Human creativity brought forth the invention of machines and new methods of tilling the soil, etc., which brought about an increase in productivity, here I will use increase would be a determination. The purpose of this video, it's kind of a test, but I will publish the video. It's to illustrate the importance of the logical categories, and here it's really simple. Here is intensity extension. A creative engineer, his inventions will be extended. The example is Henry Ford and Taylor, the division of labor, which brings about productivity. It's a great idea. I mean, not for the workers, but from the perspective of productivity, it's ingenious, so it's intense, and it has been extended because it's so effective. And the same goes with agriculture. The methods of developing agriculture, whether they were invented in the 19th century or 20th century, depending on where, chemicals, fertilizers, but also the machines, etc. It's a high investment, and it reaps an extended rewards in terms of productivity, efficiency, etc., etc., which translated in a historical process has enabled over the course, in an official storyline, over the course of the past 2 centuries, but mostly over the past, depending on which country, etc., a tremendous increase in food productivity, which enables a rise in demographics and population, which has multiplied the human population in the official storyline by a factor of 7. And when people used to have really the minimum and to struggle to find food over the past few centuries, a couple of centuries, in developed countries, food has become abundant. So that's the introduction, and here are types of food: corn, spaghetti, that's Italian, that's American, and that's the first moment. An increase in quantity produces a change of measure, an increase of quality, namely more food, better health, better standards of living, longer life expectancy, increase in population, which brings about economic increase, which reinforces the process, etc. And eventually, when people become, the basic satisfactions of life are fulfilled, they can afford to change the quality of food, namely not just for survival and reproduction of the organism, but to enjoy really. And here it's how it starts to become, at the same, on the one hand, pleasant, but also it's already the beginning of decadence from a religious, puritanical standpoint. Let's talk about Puritanism with the Americans, but with the others. So here, new types of food emerge, which are stimulated by human productivity and ingenuity. There is a sauce for the spaghetti. There is sweets and sugar and fat, etc., etc. There is chocolate, sweets of all sorts. And here I will illustrate in the logical categories. It's really simple. It means that the universal is particularized into basics and how do you call this? Extras. But then the extras become the norm. It's a quantitative determination. It depends on the productivity and GDP of a country. It depends on the intelligence of the population, the ability to organize labor, the average IQ, etc., etc. It brings about an increase. And if we had to illustrate the category of quantity, quantity is a continuum which can be discretely separated. I mean, it's one continuity, but it has several moments. For instance, a field which is 100 meter long, it can be divided. It's one field, but it can be divided in 100 meters or yards or whatever. So that's an illustration of the concept of quantity. And a change of quantity is indifferent to the being of whatever quantity is changed, namely higher productivity, a larger field, bigger cans of corn with more content, whether it's 200 grams or 400 or 1 kilo, it's indifferent. So the quantity can be changed indifferently, but there comes a moment, a logical moment, where this indifferent quantitative change, you add one more, it changes the quality. A small scale agricultural food production, if it increases 50 yards It doesn't change. 50 hours, 50 hours, 50 hours. There comes a moment when the small rural exploitation becomes a big exploitation, where a small business, if it thrives, namely if it increases its productivity and extends its basis of customers, in intensity extension, because intensity means the people work harder, better, faster, stronger, like Americans used to before they invented the welfare state. That's a joke, that's a joke. I do not doubt the working mentality of Americans. I mean, not all of them. Not all Westerners. That's a joke, that's a joke. Yeah, so it becomes intensified, therefore extended. Yeah, that's the productivity. So new types of products emerge, and here that was the particular, become more varied. Diversity, it's a determination of essence, not a being, but there's a more diverse, more food. It changes the quality in terms of good or bad, but let us talk about quality and quantity. The difference between good products and bad ones are chemical determinations, and the nutrients, good foods are qualitatively because they enable to maintain the biological health of the body, and bad one, they are food but they are poor in nutrients, etc., etc. So that would be quality, quantity, the unity of both, etc. And then here comes, let's talk about decadence. There comes a moment when an increase in the joys and the pleasing aspects of life here in the realm of consumption, they bring about excesses, namely a society becomes very wealthy, so wealthy that people become a little bit decadent in terms of they work less hard, they are less virtuous, they have less restraint, they tend to take everything for granted, etc., etc. And they become, here I will use just a determination of anthropology. So decadence would be morality, Sittlichkeit, etc. You can put the blame on me, but I just explain. But there are, let us remain in the realm of food. There are changes in the modes of production, economics, which is a way of utilizing, of using the harvesting of nature, which is the realm of the physical world, and changes in the economic way of production produces a change in anthropology, and reciprocally, they reciprocally determine one another. But in the case of food, the progress of the variety, etc., has brought about change in the average weight of the population in most developed countries. That's the reason why people become fat. And here, to illustrate the proper measure, the measure is a quantity which can be increased or decreased to a certain extent within a certain limit. And in the case of anthropology, to be healthy and attractive and good looking means to have one of the conditions is to have the proper weight. And if people are too slim, anorexia, etc., they are not very attractive. Too skinny, too thin, and yet if they are too fat, they are not very attractive either. They can have other qualities, but in order to be healthy and good looking and have a good opinion of oneself and of others, one has to have the proper balance, the proper measure of weight. And then there are excesses, and there are various ways of helping the people who suffer from excesses, one of which is, in the realm of food, the invention by pharmaceutical engineers, chemists, etc., of all sorts of products. Here to have a flat, not a fat, precisely a flat belly, to lose fat and weight. That's an illustration. So here I just illustrate the logic, a change of quality, quantity of modes of production, but also habits of consumption, quality of food, etc., etc., brings about something new, which is a determination of being, and these excesses on the longer term, here it's a historical perspective, brings about its own negation, namely given the development of a process is just here to illustrate the development. These kind of products give rise eventually to these kind of products, and it's actually both are products of human creativity and inventivity and ability to make the best out of sometimes difficult situation. But basically these kind of products, namely those who are made to help people restore the proper balance, they stimulate economics, growth. If we had to talk about the case of America, but actually it's every country. But the conservative in America, they would say that's good for the economy because it stimulates prosperity, and now we have fat people and those who try to cure the fat. It makes the GDP grow. Yeah, but here it's the logical determination of positive and negative, namely the opposites are in a conceptual unity, and here, what do you call it, peanut butter, it could be considered positive, and the negative, from a logical standpoint, the negative of peanut butter would be drugs to keep a flat belly. They balance one another. You say that if this comes into being, actually it comes into essence, there has to be a balance to counterweight, and the reason why this exists is because of the excesses of this, and this is considered positive on certain aspects, but also it's kind of negative if it's excessive. It can bring about problems of health and public health, etc., etc. And this is the negative of that, but it's considered to be positive. But it's only positive because people suffer from excesses of weight, but they just are in unity, and one emerges, the other emerges to counterbalance, and if it works, they kind of neutralize one another, and people restore the proper balance. And one could say, here I can imagine the typical conservative free market person eventually watching this like, that stimulates growth. And then there would be the ecologically minded person who says one doesn't need neither one nor the other. We should have remained not puritanical, that would be a right-wing religious, but measured, and we wouldn't have needed neither one nor the other, because we can live without this, and if we don't have this, we don't need that either. And when there are the two, it just stimulates economic life. It brings pleasure, but also kind of suffering for those who suffer from excesses, but it brings life to the economy, to a country, etc. Just to illustrate. And now, it's not that simple, actually it is, but when people eventually understand what I am trying to do, some will say, that's kind of pathetic. Yeah, and some will say, maybe that's a brilliant idea, because my purpose eventually, I can reveal my plan. What's the next step of your master plan? Eventually, in the coming days, or I don't know exactly, but my purpose is, of course, when you watch some of our videos, is to take over your country, whatever country it is. And if I have to talk what seems complete nonsense or kind of ludicrous, well, I'm kind of weird. I discover this every day, but look, the best thing I can share as of now is the light of the categories, because I am kind of in a very difficult situation, but whenever I talk about logic, I feel better. Hopefully it can work for others. So yeah, and now, let us remain serious in the realm of business and logic and economics. So there is the moment of increase. So this would be just increase in food. It's average food and increase. This would be the proper balance in terms of increase in quality. That's okay. Here, that's partly okay, but it brings about excesses, and the excesses have to be counterbalanced by means to restore the equilibrium, the balance. But then here it gets a little bit more complicated. Here is ordinary corn, and here is a negation of ordinary corn in a higher form, because this is organic food. Namely, the process. It's not just one thing emerges and counterbalance, which is what a physicist understand in physics. I will maybe put the link. I'll put the link to a conference by physicists if people want to watch other videos. If you can reduce the working hours without bringing too much disruption, if the internet is functioning, there are very good videos on the internet about cosmology by Mr. Krauss, Mr. Agelin. I will promote these videos. Or if you have watched my video, you will find the link. So I won't say it, I've already put the links. I trust the intelligence of others to a certain extent. So yeah, so there is the excesses and the counterbalance, positive and negative, but also there are people who understand the kind of tension between the opposites and who still bring forth creativity, and they say, instead of having, do we see here? Yeah. Instead of having normal food, excesses, counterbalance, and here it brings about the sweet and the pleasant aspect, but also the negative aspect for those who suffer from excesses of food consumption. There are other intelligent people who say, let us bring the first moment, but in a higher form, with the mediation of the process, which is kind of negative but also positive, but partly negative, and who say, let us invent this kind of food to transcend the lack of quality and to enable people to find healthy food and to, how should I explain? This is actually this food in a higher version, namely without the negative consequences of the chemical imbalance and the chemical problems brought about by problematic modes of production. I try to find a proper explanation. Yeah, but basically, this is simply that in a higher form, and this is what brings about the process, namely an attempt to always improve. That's human creativity in a good sense, to always improve and to always solve the contradictions, because the people who suffer from excesses, they are advised to eat healthier food and to avoid the excesses and to avoid the problematic aspects of low quality food, which means poor in quantity of nutrients. So here is good quality food, it's more expensive, but there's more nutrients, etc., etc. And in order to find a problem, to find a solution to the problem of bad eating habits, the human creativity in developed society precisely produces all sorts of food, organic food, which is a way of solving the problem of lack of health problems and also problems of agriculture, namely to respect the soils. That's sustainable agriculture. So all these type of products, they are organic and usually they respect the environment. So here we mix anthropology, determinations of nature, and economics, etc., etc. And this is what brings forth the creative process. And here, yeah, another example. That would be kind of the first moment, and here it's in a higher form, namely, this is what the philosophy of the writings of Hegel calls Aufhebung, namely it's negative in a sense of bringing fat and sugar and etc., etc. This is negative food in a positive form, namely it contains the unity of both. It's ketchup, but it's organic. Here it's not ketchup, it's tomato sauce, but I could have picked up ordinary ketchup. So that would be the evolution of the process, and actually it brings forth a negative which was partly positive in a higher form, and that's a constant improvement in terms of the balance between the pleasant aspect while finding the proper balance, respecting the proper measure, etc. So it's an improvement, but the problem is that it's more expensive, etc., etc. But it respects the soils, and yeah, maybe that's a little bit confusing, but that's what I wanted to illustrate. So it's been 35 minutes. I will stop now. It's just to illustrate really basic logical determinations, and it's really the basics. Yeah, so I've talked briefly. I'm not sure that it's gonna be very efficient, but basically, if people can understand positive, negative, quality, quantity, measure, increase, intensity, extension in a very simple way, illustrated very simply, the connection between logic, here it's just the logic of being, the logic of essence, and the logic of the concept, with the determination of nature. I will add this to complete the picture, and to see the interconnectedness, namely that activities in agriculture and then the impacts on anthropology and psychology are interconnected, because people who are fat or too skinny, they suffer from psychological problems because they cannot seduce their partner, or they have a sense of lack of self-worth. Here I will put a song, the way you are, the way that I are, by Timbaland, the way I are. If you are fat, okay, that's okay. I mean, that's kind of it's not your fault. It's the society which made you the way you are, because of decline in standards of morality, decline in puritanism, in the good sense, a decline in moral standards. But you are not responsible. That's the truth. It's the society which makes people be excessive. Yeah, but yeah, the interconnectedness of subjective, objective, and absolute Geist with nature, which would be the realm of physics and biology and geology and logic, and everything is interconnected, and this interconnectedness of everything is the process of God. And yeah, I've tried to illustrate the importance of the categories and the system. I say the system of Hegel, but actually it's the process of being. It's been 35 minutes. I have no choice but to improvise, so I will let go. I will try to produce at least a few videos like this. It will become a little bit more complex. I will put the links to my video, the time it uploads, and I will do this for the rest of the night, and then we'll see. Yeah.